20th, 2007.
I'm Angry Dawn.
And I'm Andrew Franklin. And this is Fear and Loathing in Ottawa.
What you gonna play now?
Yeah!
Welcome to the show on this high holy day for potheads, the infamous 420.
For those who are unaware of what 420 is, 420 is a term used in North America to discreetly refer to cannabis and, by extension, to a way to identify oneself with cannabis culture.
You know, I've heard about the whole 420 thing for years now, and I think it's kind of lost its mystique now since it's just so mainstream.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree, Andrew. I think that with the 420 and those related rallies, like in Ottawa, actually, trying to advocate the wider use of cannabis, I think it's bringing more attention to the cause.
Now, common myths about 420 say it refers to the active number of ingredients in cannabis, which is kind of surprising, so I figured most smokers don't actually go into the chemical composition of the substance before they smoke, or after for that matter.
Yeah, and then there's another myth out there that says the 420 actually relates to a police dispatch code related to marijuana, and that's also untrue because no such code exists.
How would you know? You're no smoker. You're probably one of the most health-conscious people I know.
Yeah, I'd be more likely to call in and report than to actually use.
Apparently, the real origin is a bunch of guys in the early 70s who called themselves the Waldos. They all went to San Rafael High School in San Rafael, California, and every day after school at 4:20 p.m. they would smoke up. And apparently it spread across the country because of it.
Yeah, and it basically was like a secret language that caught on with friends, and, it grew from there.
On 420 across North America, and probably assuming also the rest of the planet, there are a lot of celebrations that advocate the reform of various marijuana laws.
I think of 420 as something like a counterculture holiday.
You interviewed recently one such marijuana enthusiast, a guy who I encountered named Josh THC, correct?
That's right. I stepped in and spoke with him last Sunday just to kind of get a better idea of what's going on in 420.
All right, so let's throw to that interview, shall we?
We'll hear what Josh has to say. I'm here with Josh THC from the Fill the Hill event taking place on April 20th, 2007 on Parliament Hill. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. First of all, Josh, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the Fill the Hill event. What's it all about?
Well, first of all, it's not being from. I'm not from Ottawa originally myself, but I have read lots and heard lots that apparently there are people who use marijuana responsibly, such as myself, that attend this peaceful gathering at Majors Hill Park on April 20th every year on an annual basis, and it's just an act of peaceful disobedience. Mm-hmm. That is taking a stance on the position of Canadian marijuana laws, how they're unjust, and people just gather and have a good time and come out and show that the pot smokers can be just as responsible as anyone else when it comes to inducing a drug or using a substance.
That sounds good. How often has this event happened in the past?
It's been happening for a number of years. The Ottawa or Toronto has a marijuana march for a number of years. I think it was 8 years they've had it, and I'm uncertain myself how long people have been gathering at Majors Hill Park on a yearly basis, but it seems to be an annual thing so far.
And what should people in the Ottawa region understand about marijuana?
Well, first of all, is that marijuana itself is not as harmful as what the prohibitionists make it out to be. The real concerns regarding it are generally myths, to speak of it, and that conducted, and the analysis of marijuana is either has shoddy controls or where the researchers' biases interfere with the research, and that changes the perception, and the media too. Like they neglect certain issues and confronting factual science that has been published through studies, and just general ignorance through those means.
I noticed that you've done a lot of promotion and awareness building, just putting up posters and letting people know about the event on April 20th. What do you want to achieve in the end? What's your ultimate goal with all of this promotion?
Well, the event itself it kind of has a multiple strategy concept to it. It's to help destigmatize the use of cannabis among people in Canada, because there are people from all kinds of different backgrounds who use it. It's not just teens or neglectful people that consume this. There are people who are judges, lawyers, etc. that regularly or from time to time that'll consume cannabis or hashish and other products of the like. Mm-hmm. And so I think the other goal of this is to bring awareness to the issue of Mark Emery's possible extradition. We are going to be advertising for that too, that he is facing pending charges for being extradited to the United States for selling seeds to American customers through the mail. Right. Which no one in Canada has ever been sentenced to jail for, and he's facing possible life imprisonment in the United States.
Yeah, with regard to the people that you want to reach, you mentioned that you want to bring more attention to the Mark Emery situation and what he's facing. So does that mean you want to reach more politicians? Do you want to reach the general public, activists, or new users?
I think everyone. I'd like to educate everyone about the truth about marijuana and Mark Emery's situation. It's not just all about that. It's a multifunctional event here that we're having, and it pretty much, just getting the truth out there and letting the facts be known, because I think a lot of it has to deal with not having unbiased research being published. There's a lot of articles and journals and research that goes under the radar that most people don't really read or have the time to go digging through to read or find. And responsible use of a substance, drugs are not good or bad, but they have the accepted use of good relationships and bad relationships with them, and it's how we choose our relationships with those substances makes it effective or defective for our purposes.
So, with regard to Mark Emery's specific situation, the law that he broke, is it still in the books?
Well, I'm not sure if it's, I think it is still in the books, but in Canada, no one has ever faced jail time for selling seeds. The most that anyone has ever gotten for selling seeds was a fine. That was 35 years ago, and those were two people who sold seeds, and they got fined for $200, but no one has ever faced jail time for selling marijuana seeds in Canada.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, it is Canada, and as opposed to the States. Why shouldn't they enforce that law?
Well, because Canada also harbors other people who've committed crimes in their countries that where they face either death sentences, and basically if Canada were to send him there, he'd just die in prison, and that's pretty much the same. The same concept as sending someone back to their own country who's committed a crime over there, where they face the death penalty or they face whatever charges that are threatening to their life. And this is the same for Mark Emery, because he's facing however many years in life in jail over there, and it goes for Michelle Rainey too.
Michelle Rainey?
Yeah, the BC3. It's not just Mark Emery. It's they're primarily associated with Mark Emery, but there are Michelle Rainey and Greg Williams. All three of those are the BC3. Okay. And they're to be tried for extradition. And Michelle Rainey has a life-debilitating disease. Okay. And so if she does not have access to medical marijuana or her own garden in jail, she'll obviously die from her Crohn's disease.
Oh, I see, I see. Ultimately, in Canada, these specific cases aside, is the ultimate goal decriminalization then, or legalization of marijuana?
Legalization, decriminalization. That bill was introduced, or it was an Alternative Penalties Act, and it wasn't really sufficient. It just caused more confusion than what needed to be accomplished. I mean,
would decriminalization though be a more realistic goal, maybe easier to attain than legalization?
If they organized it properly, yeah, it would be. I think that would be a step closer, a good step closer to legalizing it.
And a lot of people still consider marijuana to be fairly taboo. What would you like to say to people who describe marijuana as worse than alcohol or cigarettes, or tobacco cigarettes?
I think, first of all, for those people who regard marijuana as taboo, well, first of all, I'd recommend they buy a book. It's called The Marriage of the Sun and Moon, and it's written by Andrew Whale. He's an MD. He's a Harvard professor who's studied psychoactive drugs for numerous years, and in there he gives like very unbiased information about marijuana reconsideration. And he brought to my attention the good and bad relationships we have as people with substances, and how that pretty much can apply to almost anything. So, I mean, marijuana's potential for abuse is not really high. Like, there needs to be a line drawn between use and abuse, because personally I use marijuana, I don't abuse it. I know when, like, I have to sit down and do other things and get stuff done. I don't just sit around and smoke all day, because that does no good for anyone. And in the book he talks about how people that consistently use marijuana, their highs kind of diminish, and that's like a sign that you're using it too much. And you know, people will go out and use marijuana for the highs. If your high is diminishing, then you might as well take a break anyway and just do something else for a while. Life doesn't revolve around one thing. So,
what are the advantages, would you say, to using pot? Like, is there any specific benefits to using?
To using, me, I used to work out, like, well, I do every once in a while, but I use it as an appetite stimulator myself, like as a more natural steroid, I suppose. I smoked for a while, and then to up my appetite a bit more to get the extra calories in and stuff. Because I had a hard time, like, putting on weight and mass, and so it helped me there. It helps me to relax, like, relieve muscle pain after from working out, and it's just like a social thing that just gives your mind some relaxation from, say, like a hectic day or whatever. Like, it's no different than going out and having beers. Like, the effects are different, but it's the situation of smoking a joint for me is no different than enjoying like a beer or two.
And what would you say are any disadvantages with marijuana?
Disadvantages? Well, I think that people who choose, like, smoking, obviously there's a disadvantage there, because, I mean, it causes irritation to the throat, like the smoke, because it burns at higher temperature. But we also have vaporizers, too, that have come around that have helped with those sorts of problems with irritation on your throat, and it kind of eases it down. But real disadvantages, I really can't come to see any right now. Like, I've done lots of reading, and most of the stuff that I've read through researches and through these books, and there's documentaries that I've watched that don't really, there may be disadvantages for those who are underage, who don't use things responsibly. I believe that there should be an age limit, like a drinking age, implied.
Just to make sure that there's no abuse?
Yeah, well, just because that's selling to minors, it shouldn't be, it should be treated as if it were like alcohol, but in the same sense, it shouldn't be taxed like alcohol is.
Okay.
It's not comparable in that regard to have it taxed.
There's this website called www.erowid.org. It has a bit of a list of some negative side effects, and supposedly this site uses experiences from users directly, and they list anything from nausea, especially when you combine it with alcohol and pharmaceuticals and other stuff, and coughing, to paranoia, dizziness, confusion.
Those disadvantages can be reported as undesired effects. I haven't had any undesired effects. Like those are disadvantages for people who don't I don't know how you say, maybe they don't know how to tolerate it, or they've had too much.
Oh, so it's kind of like crossing the line?
Yeah, it could be easily crossing the line. Like, the person could have it could have been maybe in the form of a brownie and too much was eaten, or like you said, in conjunction with other drugs. I mean, the abuse of one drug with another is generally not like a okay thing to do, or a safe way to explore your consciousness. I wouldn't condone drinking and smoking in the same in the same sitting, or for in that matter, combining drugs altogether is absurd. Like, I mean, if you're gonna smoke marijuana, then you obviously you sit down, relax, and you do that, but you don't. Like, I mean, I don't sit down and do other drugs at the same time. To me, I have no need to do other drugs. Like, that's on an individual basis for others.
Oh, yeah. And speaking about an individual basis, in your experience, when did it start for you? When did you first take your first toke?
When I was 17, I tried hash for the first time. I didn't try marijuana until I was 18.
Oh, why did you try hash before marijuana?
My friend had it available at the time. Like, he just had some hash from his older brother, and so we went to his place, and I spent the night there, and I had my first joint with him.
And of course, I have to ask, what's your favorite method of smoking marijuana?
Favorite method?
Yeah. There's so many out there.
Now, I think it's bongs.
And why's that?
Yeah, joints just don't do it for me. I think you waste a lot of your product if you burn it in a joint, because there's the smoke that's burning off when you're sitting there in between puffs and stuff. And bongs are a lot more like relaxed and social. You can sit down and pass one around, with a big group of friends and have a good time. Like joints too, but they just burn off, and I find that I like to make the most out of my product than waste it like that.
Good point. You hear the expression all the time of people saying, "I'm high on life." Why use any substance at all, be it tobacco, alcohol, or drugs, to enhance the quality of life?
Well, I'm not sure if being high on life is problematic, but
what I'm trying to say is, why use any substance to kind of mediate the experience of life?
Curiosity. It's human instinct. I mean, to deny something is to want it even more. I mean, that's why prohibition isn't working, because it's been a denied substance. I mean, from my point of view, because I've lived in Europe for a few years, in Italy mainly, and the kids over there don't drink as irresponsibly as I'd say the kids in North America do, because they're accustomed to that, and there's like an age that they're introduced to this to wine and everything like that.
Because it's not forbidden.
Yeah, it's not forbidden at all.
Okay. And how would you describe Ottawa's marijuana scene? You mentioned that you're new to the city, so what are your impressions as a newcomer to the city?
Well, despite the weather, I think Ottawa's a pretty nice city. It's pretty clean, and the marijuana here is pretty good, I guess you could say. I mean,
how does it? I don't know if you've ever been to BC, but how does it compare to BC Bud?
I am uncertain. I've apparently tried BC Bud here, but I have no proof it was, so I couldn't really get into detail about that. But we do get a lot of marijuana coming in from Montreal.
What would you say to someone who isn't a marijuana smoker?
If you don't smoke marijuana, that's totally acceptable. I mean, I'm not here to condone anyone or to push anyone to use it. It's a way to explore your consciousness and to relax if you do, if you want to, and I'm not sure. I'm thinking here.
No problem.
It could be would be for someone who hasn't used it before. I think that they could. Well, it's up to them if they want to smoke it or not. I wouldn't say that they should, but I mean if they could keep an open mind about it and be acceptable to the idea, maybe they'll learn something or something else. It's a different thing for different people.
And finally, I'll just give you the floor in case there's anything I didn't ask that you really want to get out to the Fear and Loathing audience.
Well, lastly, I just want to close on that. I think education is a big part of this problem with prohibition and getting the truth out there. And I think everyone should pick up a copy of that book and read it. I'm not advertising for the author, but I think it's a really good read, and it gives pretty good unbiased information from aspects of different types of psychoactive drugs, and it's just an interesting read altogether. And that's about it. I hope to see you guys both at Major Still Park on 420 and at my march on May 5th on Saturday.
And for the time for the 420, can you repeat the time and location?
Oh, at 420, I'm not sure what time everyone goes there. Usually,
no problem.
Like the time that people meet there is 4:20. Like usually people will be smoking like throughout the day.
Oh, okay.
I can't say like a time for that because.
But yeah, it would make sense. It would be 420 on 420. Thanks a lot for answering all my questions today, and everyone, look forward to seeing you at 420.
All right.
Okay, thanks Josh.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for doing the interview, Josh. I'll be heading to Parliament Hill later today to cover the Phil the Hill event, so please check back later for part 2 of the Fear and Loathing in Ottawa podcast. I'm Andrew Franklin.
And I'm Angry Dawn.
Good night and good luck, everyone.
And toke it easy.